We spend an enormous amount of energy trying to dictate the terms of our existence. We construct rigid daily routines, engage in aggressive political debates, and micromanage our surroundings, pushing back against the natural force of the flow. These compulsions mask a deeper impulse. At the center of every rigid habit sits a specific, hidden psychological driver. This is the terror of annihilation. It is the subconscious certainty that if the reins were dropped and life was allowed to move unimpeded, the individual would dissolve and vanish. Maintaining an exhausting grip on routines and ideologies serves a singular purpose. It creates friction. That friction provides the constant, grinding feedback necessary to prove we still exist. This creates the fighter self. This identity is a psychological construct built through continuous resistance against the outside world. By its very design, this version of the self requires an antagonist. Its existence depends on having an enemy to defeat, a problem to solve, or a danger to navigate. As shown here, the central node is defined entirely by the arrows pushing in. For the fighter self, this external pressure is the only way it knows it is alive. This creates a precarious situation. If the struggle ends, the very mechanism that defines this identity disappears. For an identity made of struggle, stepping off the battlefield is equivalent to a death sentence. Without a fight, the fighter simply ceases to be. The ego sphere is accurate. Unconditional surrender will destroy the fighting version of the self. During this dissolution, the rigid boundaries of resistance break down. The armored shell that once defined the self crumbles and washes away. Silence follows this collapse, but it is a silence characterized by fullness rather than a void. When the walls of the ego vanish, the distinction between me and the world evaporates. You realize that you are an expression of the whole universe, manifesting through a single, unique focal point of consciousness. Surrender removes the artificial borders that kept you isolated. In this state, the individual trades a tiny, high-maintenance fortress for the entire kingdom. Moving within this expansive state requires new definitions for the core pillars of achievement. Victory becomes the internal integration of the self, triumph over the need to struggle. Success shifts from the accumulation of external markers to the internal depth and authenticity of existence. Happiness becomes a stable joy stemming from the whole, independent of fleeting emotional reactions. These redefined pillars allow for a state of authentic peace. The individual no longer needs to extract value from the world to feel whole. Yet, as this peace takes hold, the most insidious trap on the spiritual path emerges. The survival-driven ego has shapeshifted. It has found a way to hide inside this new, enlightened state by adopting a different set of colors. This manifests as a tendency to judge those who are still struggling with their routines or political convictions. This moral superiority is a refined method of control. Both the anxiety of the past and the judgment of the present grow from the exact same root, the ego's need to preserve its existence through comparison. By turning surrender into a competitive ideology, the ego ensures its survival. It maintains its identity by looking down on those it deems unawakened. A true understanding of unity leaves no room for the sense of being better than another. To judge is to rebuild the very borders that surrender was meant to dissolve. Every person's struggle to survive is a sacred and personal part of the human experience. Witnessing the struggle of others invites radical compassion. Every critique of another's attachment is simply the ego trying to put its armor back on. Ultimate freedom requires the courage to drop your own defenses and the grace to stop judging those who are still terrified to let go of theirs.